This is the intro for Dust in the Wind by Kansas. This song is in the key of C in standard tuning. I'll play the intro at tempo and then slow it down. This song features a lot of concepts that you can learn from and apply to other areas of your musical development. Most notably with this song is the right-hand fingerstyle pattern. Fingerstyle is something that a lot of guitarists get into eventually because it makes such a nice arpeggiated treatment of chords that are normally strummed, and you can get a lot more combinations of notes and embellishments of the chords that you're using. For this song, we're using the same right-hand pattern for virtually the whole song except for just a couple of spots where we're plucking some chords. So let's start by talking about the right hand pattern. We'll just do it on a C major chord, which is the first chord of the song. This fingerstyle pattern will use all four of your fingers except for the fourth finger. So we'll have the thumb, index, middle, and ring finger. You'll notice that I use acrylic nail hardener for my fingerstyle playing. You certainly don't need that. You can get away with playing this song without fingernails just fine. In order to do this, we will start with this pattern. It always starts with the thumb on the bass note, which in this case is on the 5th string, and I'll pluck that simultaneously with my ring finger on the 2nd string. Then use the index finger on the 4th string and the middle finger on the 3rd string. Then back to the bass note, back to the ring finger, then the 1st finger and middle finger again. So here's that pattern very slowly. One other difficult thing about playing this fingerstyle pattern is that there's actually a small accent with the middle finger on the 3rd string. So if you were to play this like just a real straight feel, notice how that feels just a little dry. If we accent that 3rd string just a little, we get something a little closer to the recording. Now let's talk about the chords that are used in this. If you listen to the recording in the right side, you'll hear some higher notes. A 12 string is used on that side of the recording. The left-hand fingerings are exactly the same. The right-hand pattern will be exactly the same. So you can really play this song on a 6-string acoustic or a 12-string. You could also play it on, if you had 2 people playing, you could have a 6-string and then what's called a Nashville tuned acoustic, which is kind of like a regular 6-string with kind of a 12-string feel on it. And when that happens, what the guitar does is it has the same top 2 strings, the E and the B, and then the rest of the strings are replaced with 12-string equivalents, the octave up. So each of these 4 strings would ring up an octave higher than usual. You'd probably only want to do that if you had another person playing a regular 6-string. But it can certainly be played on just a regular 6-string or just a 12-string by itself and sound perfectly fine. These chord voicings take a normal chord and then add some melody notes to it. For the purposes of this song, since we're holding a chord fingering, I'll describe what the chords are actually called. It's important to have a knowledge of theory and chord names because knowing the correct name of a chord tells you exactly what notes are in it. So the first chord is just a C major. Then we'll go to a C major 7. This is made by just lifting up your first finger. So it adds a B note, B natural, to the C major chord. The next chord is a C add 9. A lot of times you may see this written as a C2, but the correct name for it is C add 9. To do that, take the 4th finger and add it to the second string on the 3rd fret. Then we'll go back to the C major again. So those two measures will look like this. The next two measures have variations on an A minor chord. We'll actually start with an A sus2 chord. This is made by taking an A minor chord, removing the 3rd of the chord, which is a C. So we have an open B string. So we have just the 2nd finger and 3rd finger for the A minor chord down, and we'll leave that B string ringing open. Then we'll go to an A sus4, so we're adding the 4 right here. So I'll take my 4th finger and add it to the 3rd fret on the 2nd string. Then back to a regular A minor, and then an A sus2. That'll use the same exact right hand fingering that we already used. The second half of the intro uses the same chords, but in a little bit different order. So that'll start with the C add 9 chord, going to a C major, C major 7, C add 9, then A minor, A sus2, A sus4, back to A minor. On this last A minor chord, all we're going to hit is the thumb and the ring finger together, and then the index finger and the middle finger. And then we'll do a little chord jump here where we'll start with the A minor, and we'll use all the fingers together, the thumb, index, middle, and ring, and pluck it all at the same time. Let me give you a tip for doing that, by the way. It's a lot easier if you keep your thumb outside of your fingers. If you leave it in here, it makes it very tricky to pick all the strings at the same time because the thumb really gets in the way of your index finger. If you do kind of a classical guitar trick, move your thumb outside of your fingers like this, just by scooting it along the string, it makes it a lot easier for your fingers and your thumb to work independently. So I'll play that for 1/8 note, and then I'll go to a G over B chord. To do this, I'll have the 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string and the 4th finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. So that's the end of that intro. And for both of those chords, I'm just plucking the 4 middle strings all at once. So I'll play the intro at half speed. And that's the intro section. This is the verse segment for Dust in the Wind. I'll play the verse at tempo and then slow it down. This verse is made up of many of the same chords that you'll see in the rest of the song. We start with the 1 chord that's the tonal chord for the song, which is the C major, and that will go for 2 beats, and then we'll go to a G over B chord. So we'll go through 1 cycle of the right hand fingering for the C, same right hand fingering, and then to a G over B. To do this chord, just take the 2nd finger, put it on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, and take the 4th finger and put it on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. And then we'll still be doing the right hand fingering on the middle 4 strings of the guitar. So that measure will look like this. Then going to a full measure of A minor. So you'll do the right hand fingering twice. Still the middle 4 strings. And then a measure of G going to D minor. Now this G will have an open 2nd string, and then using the thumb on the low 6th string. So the 4 strings that you'll be playing will be the 6th, the 4th, the 3rd, and the 2nd. So the only finger you need to have down is the 3rd finger. So we'll do one right hand pattern of that, and then going to a D minor chord. And this can be played either with the 4th finger or the 3rd finger, however you like to do this chord. And that'll be on the top 4 strings, with the same right hand pattern again. Now we'll go back to an A minor, and this will be different only in one small respect, and that is when we first get to the chord, we'll hit the 5th string with the thumb on the right hand, and then the top E string, and then we'll immediately go back to the regular fingering on the middle 4 strings. So the next time I use my 3rd finger of my right hand, I'll be hitting on the 2nd string. Let's look at that one more time. So that'll happen once, and then at the end of that measure, we'll have that A minor to G over B again, just like at the end of the intro. For the second line of the verse, we'll have the same progression once again, but in the last measure, instead of having that A minor to G over B, we'll just have a full measure of A minor, where we'll start with the 3rd finger hitting the E on the 1st string, and then just do the regular A minor for the second half of that measure. So I'll play the verse at half speed. And that's the verse.
Dust in the wind. All they are is dust in the wind.
This is the chorus segment for Dust in the Wind. I'll play the chorus at speed and then slow it down. The chorus segment is made up of 5 different chords. The first chord is a D over F sharp. Now this chord is actually borrowed from outside of the key. When we're in the key of C, as we are in this song, the normal 2 chord would be a D minor chord, which we saw in the verse. So when we start with this D major chord, that gives us some interesting melodic possibilities because it provides an F sharp note rather than the F natural that we see in D minor. So to play this D over F sharp, we're going to start with a regular D chord, and you can leave the F sharp on the top of it on the 1st string off because we're not going to be using it, but we'll have an F sharp on the bottom of the chord. So we'll just take the 2nd finger off the top of that D chord, add the thumb onto the 2nd fret of the 6th string. So that's adding an F sharp onto the bottom of that chord. And with the right hand, we're doing the same rhythm figure as before. The 3 fingers will be on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string, and the thumb will be on the 6th string. So I'll play that once, and then go to the G major chord that we had before with just the 3rd finger. Then going to an A minor chord, and for the second half of that measure, I'll have an A minor over G. In order to do that, just keep the same A minor shape and add the 4th finger to the G note. That's the 3rd fret of the 6th string. And so the thumb of your right hand will also have to go to that 6th string. So that measure will look like this. In the 3rd measure, we'll have that D over F sharp going to the G again. And now let's talk about the final measure of the chorus. Every time you play the chorus, this will be different. For the first time, we have a melodic lick that happens in this measure, and it'll only happen on the first time through the chorus. So this is a melodic figure that takes place on the A minor chord. The right hand will continue to do the same pattern, but there's some differences in the left hand. The first thing that we'll start with is just an open 5th string and an open 2nd string played simultaneously, and then do a hammer-on with the 1st finger onto the 1st fret of the 2nd string. Then the 1st and 2nd finger will hit the 4th and 3rd string, and then we'll hit the open 5th string, and then remove your 1st finger from that 1st fret, and we'll hit the open 2nd string again. So that first part will look like this. Again. For the end of that measure, it'll be very similar to the end of the intro and the first part of the verse, where we'll have that A minor to G over B, except in this case, we'll do a quick hammer-on from that open 2nd string to the 1st fret on the 2nd string. So I'm using all my right hand fingers to pluck those 4 strings, and then getting the G over B. So let's play that measure a few times. Once more. The second time through the chorus, we'll be going straight into the string instrumental section. So instead of playing that figure, you'll go straight to that A minor add 9. So refer to the instrumental section for those fingerings. The last time through the chorus, there will be a repeat chorus. So instead of playing that measure that we just looked at with the first ending, you'll just do the A minor to A minor over G again, and then repeat the chorus. So I'll play the chorus at half speed. And that's the chorus. This is the instrumental segment of Dust in the Wind. I'll play it at tempo and then slow it down. So the first A minor add 9 chord, I'll use the 3rd finger on the 7th fret 4th string and the 1st finger on the 5th fret 3rd string. Now the add 9, the 9 interval that's added to this chord, is going to be the open B added to an A minor chord. And so we'll use the same right hand pattern twice for this chord. The second chord is going to be a G major over A. To make this chord fingering, just take the 1st finger and move it to the 5th fret on the 4th string, and take the 4th finger and move it to the 7th fret on the 3rd string. It's important to use the 4th finger here because we'll need it on this string in a later chord voicing that we'll get to. So I'll do the same right hand fingering again. The next chord will be an F sharp 11 over A. So to do that chord, simply take this fingering and move it down 2 frets. The sharp 11 is this B natural note that we add to the F chord. And then once again, we've got an A in the bass. The last chord will be a D minor 7 over A. To make this chord, add the second finger to the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. That's why it helps to use the 4th finger on this 3rd string. We'll play that once and then remove the 2nd finger to go back to the F sharp 11. Now that sequence of chords will be played 3 times, one time during the vocal segue to the string instrumental, and then twice during the string instrumental. For the second half of that instrumental section, we're going to just play a chord progression that is identical to the intro. So those chords once again would be a C major 7, C add 9, then the A sus2, A sus4, A minor, and then going from that A minor to the G over B. Make sure to refer to the intro for those exact chord fingerings and the sequence if you need it. So I'll play the bridge at half tempo. Back into the intro. And that's the instrumental section. This is the outro segment for Dust in the Wind. I'll play it at speed and then slow it down. As you can see, the outro is just a repeating figure. So we start with the last measure of the repeated chorus, and that'll be on an A minor chord. And then we'll just use the variations on that A minor that we've seen elsewhere in the song. The interesting thing about this outro is that it's a sequence of 3 chords. Obviously we're in 4/4 time, so you'll have a different chord starting each measure as that cycle goes through. Because it's an odd number of chords. So we've got the A minor chord, and that's the beginning of the last measure of the chorus. And following that will be an A sus2 chord. We had this before in the intro, so the A sus2 is just removing the first finger from the 2nd string. Then it will go to an A sus4 chord. We'll be replacing that 3rd with the 4th finger on the 3rd string of the 2nd. And then back to the A minor, and it'll start all over again. This repeats as the song fades out. So I'll play a few repetitions of the outro at half tempo. And that's the outro. This is the performance of Dust in the Wind by Kansas.
I close my eyes only for a moment, and the moment's gone. All my dreams pass before my eyes, a curiosity. Dust in the wind. All they are is dust in the wind. Same old song, just a drop of water in an endless sea. All we do crumbles to the ground, though we refuse to see. Dust in the wind. All we are is dust in the wind. Now don't hang on. Nothing lasts forever but the earth and sky. It slips away. All your money won't another minute behind. Dust in the